Hello, getting caught up on some request videos. This one cometh from Martino007, Martin R. Cruz. Yo, Martino, do the splits, dude. If you want to be a ninja, you got to be able to do the splits. If you can't do the splits, you're just a chump. You want to be a faggot, so do the splits, dude. Number one commandment. Okay. Next video request. Can you please talk about what movies, cinemas will be like the future, let's say by 2025 and beyond, which is 12 plus years from now. Thanks and have a nice day. Okay. So, what will movies be like in 15 years? Good question. Let's see here. Well, 15 years, dude, that's actually, it's not that long, but a lot happens in 15 years, you know. Let's see, we're in the year 2015, 15 years ago, 1998. That was when the internet was first getting started. We've come a long way since then. People are a lot smarter, a lot more transparency. So what will it be like in the future? Well, I think that movies will be a lot different in the future. Movies, I think we're in the tail end of movies that aren't very realistic. Movies in the future are going to be a lot more catering to smarter people. People are going to get smarter. Right now, we're going into a period of high technology. So, you know, really good graphics with CGI. So we're having a lot of superhero movies, Superman, and then we're going to have, I guess, the Avengers, and then probably a Wonder Woman movie because she's in the Avengers, and which I like. I think that stuff is awesome. And people are starting to get sick of gratuitous violence. Jim Carrey just denounced his latest movie, Kick-Ass 2, because of all the crazy school shootings that are going on and stuff. So I think there's going to be a lot less like gratuitous violence in movies, you know, where people kill a bunch of people, people die, and, oh, wasn't that a great movie? People are starting to make connection between violence in movies and violence in real life. Violence in movies doesn't cause violence in real life for most people, but there is that segment of the population, the schizophrenic people, who will attribute their violence to movies. You know, Ted Bundy attributed all of his 100 murders to violent porn, and I think Jeffrey Dahmer did too, to pornography and stuff. And if you were to get these people, throw these people up against the wall who do the shootings, and ask them why they freaked out, they'd probably be like, I don't know, I just saw it so much. I don't know, you know, people who kill a lot of people, they think about it, and then they lose control and they do it. Got a little bit sidetracked, but yeah, I think people are going to start to realize that and just start to kind of tone down on the gratuitous violence. But and also, people are going to tone down on certain genres of movie. I think the horror genre will always be there, but it's going to be a lot less popular. Right now, you know, like a good quarter, it seems like, or fifth of the movies out there. Well, not maybe quarter, but like a sixth or a fifth of the movies out there are just horror movies. This last movie, I saw the ads for it a couple weeks ago with Ethan Hawke with the, One Day a Year. And people can do whatever they want, and like people were like, "Hey," and they were gonna like burglarize the house and shoot people. That made me want to puke, man. Why are people putting those kinds of movies out? That's just like gratuitous violence, and then like making people out to, like, normal people out to be criminals, like we're all bad under our skin when we're not. So I think the horror genre is gonna go down a lot. I think big budget movies are always going to be there. People are always, especially when the economy improves, people are always going to have money to go to the theater, the big theater, and watch the movie as an event. And there's always going to be money for big budget movies, and making big budget movies, it's going to be less and less expensive anyways with all of the, as we get better and better with technology and more efficient the way that we make movies. So, but there will be a new genre of people are going to there are going to be a lot more studios making movies, you know, like really good high quality movies with good actors and everything, but just a smaller budget. And so there are going to be studios popping up in other places in the world. Austin's going to be a big studio movie center. The Front Range, like Denver, is going to be a big movie center. Other countries are going to start popping out movies. Russia's going to be the next country to start making good movies, mainly historical movies. And so in 15 years, we're going to see more. They're going to be more budget, more big like theater movies, in theaters around the world from other countries, not just America. Right now, it's only really America and some England, and maybe every once in a while you'll get one from Australia. But we'll have more from other countries, and the genre that other countries are going to pump out aren't really going to be so many like comedies. Countries that are very socially stringent, not a whole lot of social freedom and individuality like China, are not going to have a very good, be in a very good position to make comedies because they're comedy. Because in order to make a comedy, you have to be edgy. In order to be edgy, you have to be open-minded. And so could you imagine North Korea making a good comedy? There's no way. The bounds would be too small. Like, their little box within the range of what they could do would be so small. There's no way they could make a comedy. And if they try to make something funny, it would just look stupid to everybody else. That's why free countries like America are the best with comedies. So America's always going to be, for a long time anyway, for the next 50 years at least, going to be the king of comedies. And even thrillers and stuff, even those kinds of movies. You have to be open-minded and be from a free society. So America's going to be the leader of that. When other countries start pumping out movies, other countries, they'll do their comedies and all that, but they'll only market to themselves. But when other countries make movies that make it throughout the whole world, it's going to be historical movies. 15 years from now, it's going to be the renaissance of historical movies because there's so many stories that have happened in history. So many interesting stories where people do amazing things. Amazing things happen. Things happen that start a legacy, that start a snowball effect that then create things that happen happen today. Like the beginning of, say, the banking industry, or the beginning of the multinational corporation, or the beginning of empire. The invention of the cannon and all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the movie, you can have a little story, and then and this was the beginning of the story that started this or whatever. So, anyways, and people will find that very interesting, especially once people get more educated. And as people get more educated, they'll get more interested in history. So, historical movies is a genre of the future, and the people who will make those historical movies are the descendants of the players. Like right now, most of the historical movies are made in America, even when it's not an American movie. I mean, like when the story didn't happen. For example, the Battle of the Red Cliffs. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry. That's a Chinese movie. Yeah, I mean, China's already made a lot of good historical movies. They made the Battle of the Red Cliffs. That's a Chinese movie, and it's high budget, and it's like produced perfectly, just as well as any Hollywood movie. And you can see the giant, navy and everything. It's awesome. China will be making a lot more of those kinds of movies, and I think most of the movies in China will be historical movies because they have a really rich history, and they're going to want to promote that throughout the world, and it'll just be a huge wealth of material to draw from. Same thing with Russia, it's already started. Like Hong Bak, that was a martial arts movie set like in some, some Thai kingdom back in the past. But like Anna and the King with Jodie Foster, that was about the like a couple hundred years ago in Thailand. That was a Hollywood movie. like Gladiator about ancient Rome. That was a Hollywood movie. As in 15 years, people are going to be a lot better at English in other countries, so they'll be able to make movies where they speak English throughout the whole movie, and the actors won't have a problem speaking English. They'll speak in a kind of I guess, a thick accent, but they'll make the movie in English so that it can get marketed worldwide, and it won't have to be Hollywood making it with Hollywood actors. So movies in the future, say 15 years, when they make a movie about Nero, it won't be a Hollywood movie. It'll be an Italian-made movie. Maybe not necessarily all Italian actors, but filmed in Italy, Italian producers, Italian actors, Italian-made movie. If it's a movie about, right now they're having the new movie coming out, 300: Rise of an Empire. It's about the Persians and Persian invasion of the Greeks and how the Greeks fought off the Persians. That's a Hollywood movie, but in 15 years from now, it'll probably be a Greek-made movie. Alexander with Colin Farrell, that was a Hollywood movie. So, yeah, in the future, historical movies are going to be a big genre, and they're going to be filmed in these other countries. And they're going to be more historically accurate. If you look at all these different movies like Braveheart, which is a Hollywood movie, even though it was about England, they made a lot of historical shortcuts, like poetic license, and they changed history around a lot. Like in real life, William Wallace wasn't captured because he was like lured to have a meeting with the Queen of England. He was captured in battle. He didn't start the fight against the English because his wife was killed by one of the policemen at one of the English outposts. He started the battle because he was just one of the fighters when they already wanted to fight. There was already a concerted effort to fight off the English that the noblemen up there in Scotland had orchestrated. It wasn't started by William Wallace. He was just a general. And there were a lot of other historical inaccuracies. And even a movie like Gladiator. A movie like Gladiator couldn't be made even today, I think, because of its historical inaccuracies. Back then, they had. Well, actually, was it really historically inaccurate? Well, visually, it was historically inaccurate. They made the buildings look like 5 times bigger than they actually are. And in 15 years, if they were to make Gladiator, they would actually film what Rome really looked like an actual model of Rome, and it would all look realistic. They wouldn't have everything pumped up to make it look like fucking Metropolis from Batman. And even the coup, I don't even, like in Gladiator, they had that like attempted coup, that never happened. If that really happened, it would have been in the history books. And so movies wouldn't have like little plot devices in there that didn't happen just because the guy who made the movie thought that it would make a more interesting movie. All the movies that happen are going to be to a T exactly the same. Even Spartacus. In 15 years, if they make a TV show about Spartacus, they would have Spartacus holed up behind a trench, trapped behind the forces of the Romans. Not up in the mountains, but in the peninsula of southern Italy, like how it really happened. And people would find that that's accurate enough. Historical movies would be kind of like historical movies / documentaries, and it would be just as interesting. And because they wouldn't be able to get away with making their own, writing their own stories. So another genre that's going to suffer because of that is going to be the fantasy. Like they had this movie with all the movies basically half the movies that Nicolas Cage does. They had one called what was it? Where he was in like the Dark Ages and there were like phantoms and ghosts flying around and statues would turn into like flying goblins and demons and stuff. Like those kinds of movies aren't going to be are going to take a hit because they're not historically accurate. It kind of caters to superstitions of ignorant people. Now, a new genre I think that'll take its place in terms of the fantasy. It'll be kind of a mix between fantasy and reality and science fiction. It's like alien related stuff. There's a tale when Alexander the Great was besieging Tyre that a flying saucer came out of the sky and blasted a hole in the wall on Tyre, which allowed them to capture Tyre. And so they make a movie with actual flying saucers in it. They'd make a movie with crop circles and aliens creating crop circles in the 1500s, and maybe even a movie about the creation of like the fall of Atlantis, and then the creation of the pyramids, like something that people, New Age type people, actually believe, recreations of that, because more and more people in 15 years are going to believe in New Age stuff, like believe that Atlantis and aliens made and the pyramids and all that kind of stuff is real, and so they'll make movies about it. But I think that's a good thing. It'll fuse different industries, genres, subjects together. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. Not only are you entertaining yourself, but you're also educating yourself. I think the age of endless sequels is going to fade away. I think we're in the golden age of the sequel now. We're in the sequel now because all the movies are big budget movies, and it's much more it's much more catered to I guess international audiences. 10 years ago, before we had all of this piracy problems, with the invention of the internet and people able to watch movies for free, 80% of the revenue from movies came from within America, but now 80% comes from outside of America. So people want to see kind of like movies that only Americans can make, which are big budget, highly technologically dependent movies, like action movies, and like franchise type movies where people kind of get what they expect, something that's more catered to a more homogenous population. But in the future, I think people are going to be, people are going to be more educated, so they'll be, and they'll be kind of sick of that whole, the same story told over and over again with the same actors and everything. It'll be more, as time goes on, stuff always gets more competitive. So there'll be just lots. It'll get really creative, and so there'll be lots of new ideas and less more realistic, less cartoony type of movies. The different movies will be, the different genres will be like more distinct, I think. Like you're not going to have a historical movie where the people are like total superheroes and can jump 20 feet in the air like with Spartacus. You'll have a historical movie where people are actually realistic. The fights are realistic, that's already happening now. The fights are becoming more realistic and not as silly. If you watch a movie from the 50s, the fights are just ridiculous. And so in that vein, if you're going to have somebody, doing something that's like impossible for a human being to do, like with the new Fast and Furious 6 movie, it'll just be a superhero doing it, like it'll be like a Superman movie. So because people are going to be a lot smarter, and they're not going to be like, they're going to call the movie makers on their shit if there's any plot holes. Oh yeah, and plots are going to get tighter. Right now, plots are not very tight and unrealistic, and it's going to have to make more sense in the future because people are getting smarter. Oh yeah, also they're going to be more small budget movies though. Like regular people are going to be making movies, and like right now, the kind of videos that go viral are like just simple like 1 minute sketches, like documentaries about stuff. But in the future, there's actually going to be movies that like college kids put together, you put together for like $1,000 budget, like really low budget, made by like six friends, and they're going to make a whole movie and it's going to go viral, and it's going to make them a lot of money, and there are going to be a lot more of those kinds of movies too, because people are going to get more creative, and they're going to take, they're gonna get sick and bored of making these like little 1 minute movies, and you're gonna be like, you know what, let's make it like an actual movie, like a movie with written beginning, middle, end, just like a normal movie. Because in 5 years we'll have the people like me with $1,000 worth of computer program technology. We'll have the same technology to be able to make just as good graphics or whatever, just as good of a movie as the movies in the '80s. So there's no reason why you can't. And once that happens, it'll snowball, and people will be making movies, like real movies. And so the genre of like situational comedies or dramas and stuff will be more low budget, and there's going to be lots of different kinds of stories made by really low budget, just like normal people. And maybe even normal people who aren't even movie makers, and they're like, let's make a movie, and they'll dedicate a year to making a movie, and they'll make money off of it, and even if it's not that much, they'll at least get viral and get famous, and then maybe they can get into making more big budget movies. But the theater type of movies in 15 years are going to be the historical movies, where they have huge sets and recreations of battles with wide panoramas and just really good costume design and big budget. The historical movies are going to be the theater movies, and then of course the sci-fi movies with superheroes and stuff, with all that the big budget stuff. But yeah, but like right now we have the movie After Midnight or whatever, Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. That's just that's in the theaters now as a big budget movie. That kind of movie in 15 years is going to be more, that genre is going to be more made by dominated more by just low budget people, which will open up doors to make those kinds of movies really creative, because the talent pool is going to be so much bigger that people will be making some really funny stuff. Like, I've got ideas to make those like comedies and stuff that I think are hysterical. I could never get anybody to do it though, because my ideas are so wacky that people would feel like I'm taking advantage of them, like I'm just trying to make fun of them by making them like embarrass them, because it's just so weird. But there'll be more movies like that in the future, just comedies that are just wacky comedies, low budget. So yeah, the creativity is going to be 5 times bigger in 15 years than it is now. Okay, peace out.